Well, hello there, guys. Today we're taking a look at the much-awaited game, Burden of Command. This game has been under production for as many years as I can count, and it is one of the first leadership RPG/strategy games that I have ever seen set in a military setting. In this case, the Second World War. Now, I want to be very clear that the campaign system is fascinating. It takes you from training, that's right, training, all the way to your first battle. And you're going to learn a whole lot in this campaign scenario. However, today we're going to take a look at one of the demos, and this allows me to show you sort of the command nature of this game and how, of course, you can get, pretty straightforward turn-based strategy while also putting a huge emphasis on the order of battle. And I think it's just so important and something that games in this genre have needed. So if this is the kind of thing you like, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And we're going to jump right in to the first part here of this particular battle. Again, hopefully we come out on top with a nice victory, but at least you guys will see how the game works exactly. And here we are in Badenburg. So this is, of course, a demo. I don't want to play the video, even though this game has such a great bevy of not only advice videos, tutorial videos, but also stories from the actual soldiers themselves. That being said, I don't want to break any sort of copyright rules, so I'm going to avoid those. Burdenberg, near the German border. White snow falls, black smoke rises, American tanks burn, 5th Armored rushes straight into heavy German fire. Well, fuck you, First Sergeant Grant says from beside you. No entry, no arty, no machine guns, and now no tanks. Do we still advance, Captain? I want to hear the options. We gotta strike while the iron is hot, Lieutenant Wilson says. The man certainly is working hard amidst his Second World War. Both platoons move under cover, side by side, and we've got a shot. The deeper in the woods, the better it would seem, Lieutenant Dearborn notes. He is both academy trained and Virginia raised, and his voice holds a ring of certainty. If we were to make a wide turning motion against their flank, then they must yield the position. So let's try and make a deep flanking effort. Now, I want to be clear. You're seeing a lot of text here, but this game is not just text. This is just a tiny, tiny part of the game, and we're soon going to be in the thick of combat. And there you go. Now, Dearborn is recommending, of course, that we advance through the forest to flank this German objective right here. So we're going to do just that, guys, and start advancing. And if you take a look here, we've got Lieutenant Dearborn, we've got Lieutenant Wilson, and we've got a captain who is currently unnamed. But every single one of these is an integral part of the battle itself. And without them, we wouldn't be able to do much. As you can see there, we've actually got some Germans waiting for us. They just took out the first man as we headed into the woods. You can't always expect that. It happens in war, but we're going to push forward with Dearborn as well, and we're going to try to use Dearborn to actually rally the existing men that we've got here. Now, we've got this unit, and we can actually recon by fire, but it doesn't look like the enemy is close enough for us to do that. So what I'm going to do is continue pushing Dearborn forward. What I am going to try to do is bolster our existing unit, or actually press our existing unit, just to make sure that we get some morale support. It's going to make them much better fighters as well. And we're going to try to move in front of the enemy and cut them off here. Hopefully it's going to work off, get those Germans surrounded, and hopefully we can put some fire on them. So let's see if we can do that. I'm going to try to recon by fire, although I don't believe we've got enough action points to do so. What we will do is turn and face the enemy. This way we've got a much better chance of actually striking them with any shots. And let's go ahead and open fire. And as you can see, we're firing from above. Now, we lost 2 men there. The enemy hopefully also lost some men, but as you can see, some morale loss there and casualties. The goal here, though, is to try and surround the enemy, keep them under fire, of course, and ultimately charge the position. Something that this game does that a lot of other military games do not focus on at all and should is the realization that you're expelling hundreds, sometimes thousands of rounds to get a single casualty. or to hurt the enemy at all. You're not always just going to immediately, get a good shot on the enemy. After all, they want to survive too. And that's something that this game does very, very well, which is basically it's not all about just getting shots on the enemy. It's about suppressing them. It's about flanking them. And it's about ultimately, if you've got the opportunity, you want to try and charge their position, assault their position. And more times than not, guess what's going to happen? The enemy is going to just surrender because they don't want to get shot, just like you guys don't want to get shot. And if they're under heavy fire, there's a good chance that that's going to happen. So I'm going to continue pulling the rest of these men forward. In this case, we can only move second squad, and I'd like to move them with the help of our actual lieutenant here. So for now, I'm just going to continue moving the men deeper into the woods. And in this case, we will push second squad forward. We can always follow with the lieutenant next turn or some turns from now. I just want to make sure that that squad has some support. So let's send in an LT. And in this case, I believe it's actually one of our captains. And we actually, I believe, have a chance at a shot. No, we're going to have to get a bit closer. I want to make sure also that these guys move together. So let's do that. And once again, we've got the enemy surrounded. I am going to press our unit next turn, but the goal is get them surrounded and eliminate them, given some time. Now, when you're trying to determine, and I'll probably make a separate video about this if you guys enjoy this game and want to see more, when you're trying to determine how many movement points you have left or how many commands you have left, you're going to look at those green chips. And that's going to essentially let you know what we've got left for this particular unit. Right now, we are out of turns, or out of movement points, so we're going to end the turn. Enemy is returning fire. We're going to be returning fire on them. And it looks like nobody really came out on top in that particular engagement. We do have an advantage because we are on the high ground, but the enemy is putting quite a lot of rounds down on us. And it's definitely not something we like to see. So once again, I'm going to keep on trying to push forward a little bit more. You can see those guys are still out of movement chits. We have to wait a bit before they regain them. So let's keep on pushing. And we are taking, of course, Lieutenant Dearborn's suggestion to move through the forest. But we've got to wait a bit before we can start opening fire again with Lieutenant Wilson. So something I can do in the meantime is try and rally our men. Actually, looks like we might not be able to do that just yet. There we go. We can press them. So this is sort of yell at them, tell them to get up, get tougher here, and of course move into combat if they're able to. Bolstering also does something similar. In fact, what bolstering does is improves their morale a bit and also makes them better shots, believe it or not. So if we're in a position where you have to open fire on the enemy, in this case we cannot see the enemy, but we're going to do a lot better. And as you can see, we don't have many movement points left, so I'm going to move them right there, but then I am staying put with the rest of these units. Scheite! I think it's supposed to be Scheisse. Wilson is still getting in gear. Dearborn is not in position, and the Germans are still resisting. Battalion calling in. First Sergeant Grant says and offers over the headset. Artillery is up, so we can actually go ahead and get some arty on the enemy. We just want to make sure we select the correct unit. So let's take a look here, and I'm going to call for off-map 105mm arty. Unfortunately, we can't spot that unit with the arty. Let's see if we can take command with the officer here, and let's see if we could just open fire on the enemy. In fact, here's what I can do. I'm going to take this unnamed captain. I want to take everybody together and push them together. We're going to add the captain to that push. The enemy is going to attempt to open fire on our position there, and they're actually going to fall back. They caused a casualty there. Definitely not something we like to see, but we're going to see if we can't pay back the favor. Now, if you look over there, our attack is pretty bad. If we tried to go for a charge, for instance, we might do okay just because we're flanking the enemy. But if we went for just shots, we're not going to do quite well. So I'm going to try, keyword try, to get some shots on the enemy. And I think what we're going to have to do is actually move forward to get those shots and then go for a charge afterwards. So let's do that. To open fire. Keep moving. Unlucky. Not much we can do there. We've got to make sure the enemy is locked down, pinned down. And as you can see, our attack is not going to go well here against the enemy at all. So we're going to hold. There's another enemy unit right there as well, which we want to keep our eyes on. So let us try and focus our fire on the enemy here. And in fact, I want to see if we can call in that artillery, the off-map arty. No spotter, unfortunately. Now, what we can do is we can try and move this unit in, the unnamed captain, and perhaps being here, he'll be able to spot the enemy. So let's call that off-map artillery. All right, it's going to be arriving next turn, so hopefully we can hold on until this turn, and let's see if we can get some additional shots on that unit. I think I'm just going to focus my fire on this unit, so we're putting a lot of fire down on them, and in the meantime, I want to make sure we can hold out against these guys ahead of us. Open fire. And again, no luck. We want to keep pushing. This can happen.
Stay online.
And again, they are out of our line of sight, so not much we can do there. We can end the turn there and hopefully get a nice bombardment on them. I'm also going to take this squad, and I am going to start moving Lieutenant Wilson's men up because we know for sure that there are enemies right there. So let's push. And I am going to try and bolster the men. So here we go. Bolstering those men. Hopefully that's going to make us work out a lot better here. And again, our attack actually seems like it's going to go pretty well here. Let's go for it. A hand-to-hand charge. And the enemy has surrendered. The first bit of good news that we've gotten, as a matter of fact, no resistance whatsoever. We took them by surprise a bit there, and that's beautiful. Of course, now we've spotted some additional enemies right now. Thankfully, because of the effective charge, our men are undaunted. That means that despite taking shots there, they are pretty confident. And I want to make sure that Wilson is facing that enemy. I don't want them sneaking up behind us. But in the meantime, we've got to kind of hold this position. And hopefully the artillery is going to vaporize that enemy unit right there. There's some return fire from Wilson, still undaunted, still carrying on the fight. But we can hear the Germans moving through the tree line. We can hear them continuing to move. Snow, mud, and the enemy, the usual. The attack continues despite German resistance. All right, there we go, folks. We still got that arty coming in. And, hold on, is it gonna... Yep, there it is. Boom, baby. Artillery directly on target. Unfortunately, some of the arty is also hitting around us. You can't get direct arty hits, unfortunately. But I know for sure that it struck that position. And there we go, 105mm withdrawn. It's also striking over there, too. Now, let's see. Before we do anything with this unit, I want to make sure that they are in a good spot. So let's go ahead. Let's rally them up. They've been through a lot.
Keep your heads down.
And this is where the importance, of course, of the men and the commanders really goes a long way. Go ahead and select just the commander here. And I'm going to try to bolster that unit right there. And let's see, how would a charge go here? Is the enemy taking enough fire? Nope, that's not going to happen. And once again, we're going to bolster. Doing everything I can to improve this unit's chances of a victory. As you can see there, the attack would be terrible. It wouldn't work out at all. So again, we're going to try and see if we can at least suppress the enemy. Don't let up, boys. Got that bolster support as well. Now that seems to be an objective we need to take too. I did not expect that to be a thing. Some return fire there. Enemy is defiant, but they continue to move and to take certain positions. Now, I almost want to send a unit back to grab that objective, but we kind of need all the units we can get right now, truth be told. Nonetheless, an objective is an objective. We're going to send this unit back. We're going to try to take that position, and at least we can call that a good move, I'd like to think. But again, you know, I am very much a noob at the game. There is so much to learn, man, and the tutorial prepares you, but there's a lot you still need to learn. Open fire.
Pick your targets.
I'd like to think we got them under pretty heavy fire there. A screaming shriek fills the air and sends a corkscrew of terror up your spine. Incoming! Oh my god, enemy artillery incoming, guys. Look at that. Oh! Seems to be striking over here. They expect us, see, to be here already. We're still fighting the enemy over here. We should probably be pushing towards the objective and avoiding direct contact with the enemy. So our incompetence kind of saved us there in a manner of speaking. So once again, I want to see if we can't get a shot here. Let's see. No luck. We're going to have to push this unit up. Again, I want to make sure it is... In this case, we can only push up the commander, which is not going to do us any good. We could recon by fire. But again, the line of sight is blocked, but we cannot move the entire unit here. As far as I can tell, the squad is... Yeah, the squad is not going to move. Only the officer can move. Let's just make sure. No, wait.
Let's go!
He's okay. He can push, but we're putting ourselves in a rough spot here. Again, trying to chase down those Germans. And what I'm going to do, let's bolster our men.
Go full out!
We might get lucky here. It's only because they've been under such heavy fire. We're going to try to go hand-to-hand on the enemy.
Let's go!
And it failed. I'd like to think that we hurt them, but that absolutely failed. We want to continue the push onto the crossroads here. A messenger from 2nd Platoon hurries over to your command post. Captain, the busted-up tanks, they're still wounded in them. Listen close. The messenger lays it all out for you as expected. It isn't pretty. The wounded are dying, but the fight isn't over. Man, we'll plan to rescue the tankers, but we're going to detail the men to coax the tankers to cover.
Get a medic, now!
So one goal is going to be to get those wounded tankers, of course, and sort of makes our job that much harder. Going to have that unit rest a bit. They are tired, man. I suspect the Germans are going to keep retreating. They're going to keep falling back. More rockets. The Germans are not holding back. The radio crackles. Wilson and Dearborn compete for bandwidth, but you already know what they will say. If we push, they might hit us before we can brace. But if we just fall back into the forest, then we'll have to do this all again tomorrow. It's a shit deal either way. What's the call, Captain? I'm going to say we have to fall back, which would end the demo, and we don't want to do that. Wilson will suggest we regroup. We have to take that position. Now, once again, there you go. That is the end of the demo, the end of our part of the demo there. We could continue with the story if we wish.
But pretty soon I found myself smoking as high as a pack a day. I worried about that old law of percentages. My company was melting away. You'd look up one day and be fighting alongside a stranger. It was a lonesome feeling.
And there we go, guys. That is the burden of command. Again, we didn't do very well in that mission. We could have done any number of things differently, including bolstering our men, not going straight into the woods, diverting to the actual target location, avoiding enemies, avoiding, running into enemy territory and taking pot shots at the enemy with the hope of getting a few chance casualties. This game is all about the command burden and really using, that command ability to rally your men, to flank the enemy, to charge them when they're suppressed, not just like a regular turn-based strategy where you're just, attacking, defending, etc. So if you guys enjoyed this and you want to see more, maybe this time we can come out with some better results, then let me know in the comments down below. Again, I just want to get this to you as quickly as possible so you guys get a visual of how fascinating this game is, how different from other games it is, and hopefully you will check it out as well.